The rain fell hard that night. Streets glistened under the city lights, and puddles reflected the chaos of passing cars and hurried footsteps. Amid that storm stood a young woman, her clothes drenched, her shoes torn, and her hands trembling from the cold. Her name was Asher, a 22-year-old girl who had learned too early that life was never fair to those who had nothing. She stood outside a grand glass building, staring at its shining nameplate Rain Industries. Behind those walls, people wore suits that cost more than her entire month's rent. But she wasn't there to admire them. She was there for a job interview, a chance, a single fragile hope to change her life. If you believe kindness and second chances can change someone's destiny, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, because Asher's story is about to remind you that love and humanity still exist in this cold world. Asher had lost her parents when she was just 16. Since then, she had survived by working small jobs, selling flowers at traffic signals, cleaning apartments, and sometimes skipping meals so her younger brother could eat. Every day had been a battle, but she never let her pain turn her bitter. Her eyes still held light, a quiet strength that poverty couldn't dim. When she entered the office lobby that morning, drenched and shivering, the receptionist frowned at her appearance. People stared, some whispering, some laughing under their breath. Her old sandals left wet marks on the marble floor, and her simple cotton dress clung awkwardly to her frame. But she ignored it all. Her focus was on that one interview, an assistant position that could bring her stability, dignity, and hope. The moment she stepped into the interview room, she saw him, Rain Ahmed, 28 years old, the CEO of one of the country's biggest companies. Known for his intelligence, charisma, and ruthless business instincts, Rain was the kind of man whose presence could silence a crowd. His suit was tailored perfectly, his wristwatch gleaming under the soft light. Everything about him screamed power and wealth. He looked up from his laptop, slightly irritated, when she entered. At first, he assumed she was in the wrong place. Her clothes didn't fit the image of someone who belonged in his glass-walled world. But there was something in her eyes, something raw and real that made him pause. He asked her to sit. Her hands shook as she clutched the small, crumpled resume she had spent the whole night rewriting by hand because she couldn't afford to print it. Her voice trembled, but her honesty and determination came through every word. Rain didn't know why, but he felt something shift inside him that day. Maybe it was her sincerity, maybe it was the quiet dignity with which she carried her pain. Against the advice of his HR manager, he gave her the job. Her first days were hard. The staff treated her like she didn't belong. She was sent on errands that weren't part of her job, mocked for her old clothes, and often left out of office lunches. But Asher stayed silent, always polite, always focused. She worked late, learned quickly, and never complained. Rain watched her from a distance, noticing how she never lost her composure. He saw how she smiled kindly even at those who mocked her, how she never missed a deadline, how she refused to let anyone's cruelty break her spirit. One evening, when most employees had left, Rain found her still in the office. The power had gone out due to a storm, and she was lighting a small candle near her desk, finishing reports by hand. That simple scene, a poor girl working by candlelight in a room meant for the rich, moved something deep inside him. For the first time, Rain realized that success was more than luxury cars and expensive suits. It was resilience, the will to keep going when life offered nothing. As days turned into weeks, Asher's quiet strength began to melt the walls around his heart. He started leaving coffee on her desk in the mornings. He'd ask for her opinion on small matters, then genuinely listen. When he noticed her old shoes falling apart, he secretly arranged for the company to provide her with a uniform allowance. He never said it was from him, but she somehow knew. One afternoon, Aisha fainted at work due to exhaustion and hunger. Ryan personally took her to the hospital. When the doctor said she hadn't eaten properly in days, guilt consumed him. How could someone so strong be living with such silent suffering? That night, as he sat beside her hospital bed, watching her pale face under the soft glow of the monitor, Ryan felt something unfamiliar yet undeniable: love. Not the kind born from attraction or desire, but a deep, soulful connection that asked for nothing in return. When she woke up, she tried to sit, embarrassed by his presence. She whispered that she was sorry for causing trouble. He smiled softly for the first time and said, "You didn't cause trouble, Aisha. You reminded me what real strength looks like." From that day, something changed between them. Ryan began spending more time in her department, pretending to check reports when in truth, he just wanted to see her smile. His friends and family noticed his change. They teased him, but when they learned who she was, a poor assistant from a struggling neighborhood, they warned him sternly. "She's beneath you," one friend said. "People will think she's after your money," said another. His mother even tried to arrange a marriage with a wealthy businesswoman's daughter. But Ryan couldn't listen. He didn't see Aisha's poverty anymore. He saw her heart, honest, kind, and pure, and in that heart, he found peace. Still, Aisha was cautious. She respected him deeply but knew the line between their worlds. She often avoided his gaze, afraid of rumors, afraid of hoping for something impossible. She had spent her life being reminded of her limits. Yet, despite everything, her heart began to betray her. She couldn't ignore the way he looked at her, not with pity, but with admiration. One evening, after a company charity event, Ryan found her sitting alone on the rooftop, her eyes glistening under city lights. She confessed that she used to dream of being someone who mattered, someone people respected. "But life doesn't give chances to people like me," she said softly. Ryan replied, "Maybe life doesn't, but sometimes people do." And for a moment, their silence said what words never could. Rumors spread quickly. Some employees mocked her behind her back, saying she had trapped the boss. The gossip reached Ryan's mother, who confronted him angrily. She accused Aisha of using her poverty as a weapon. Aisha overheard that conversation and broke down. She decided to resign, believing it was the only way to protect his reputation. She left a letter on his desk, thanking him for everything and wishing him happiness. When Ryan found the letter the next morning, his hands trembled. He rushed to her small neighborhood, rain pouring once again as it had the day they met. He found her standing outside her old, broken apartment, holding her brother's hand. Without caring who saw, he ran to her, soaked and breathless. She tried to stop him, her eyes full of tears. "You don't belong here," she said. He took her hands gently and whispered, "I belong wherever you are." For the first time, Aisha let herself cry freely. All the walls she had built crumbled as he promised that her worth had nothing to do with money or class. "You taught me what real wealth means," he said, "and I can't lose that." Their love wasn't easy. The world didn't accept it overnight. People judged, whispered, and doubted. But Ryan stood by her through every insult, every headline, every sneer. Slowly, the noise faded, and people began to see what he saw: the beauty of a soul unshaken by hardship. A year later, Aisha walked down the aisle in a simple white dress, not in a luxury hotel, but in a small garden filled with candles and laughter. Her brother stood proudly beside her, tears in his eyes. Ryan waited at the end of the aisle, not as a CEO, but as a man who had found his heart's true home. When they exchanged vows, he said, "You were the light I never knew I needed." And she whispered, You were the kindness I stopped believing existed. Their marriage became a story that inspired many, proof that love truly doesn't know status. Ryan continued to lead his company, but with a heart transformed. He launched a foundation for underprivileged students, naming it the Asher Hope Initiative. Together, they helped hundreds of young people get education and jobs, giving others the same second chance that had changed both their lives. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to keep spreading stories of love, kindness, and humanity. Speech Balloon Special. Request a comment below. Love doesn't care about wealth, it cares about heart. Years later, as they watched the sunset from their small home on the hill, Asher smiled and said, "Do you ever regret choosing me?" Ryan looked at her, his eyes soft, and replied, "You were never a choice, Asher. You were my destiny." And in that moment, surrounded by the quiet glow of evening, it became clear money can buy comfort, but only love can buy peace. Because no matter how rich or poor life makes us, the greatest fortune of all is finding someone who sees your heart before your status.